So
Right.
how do you why do you think all the prices are raising so much there?
Well, so I think we as Americans, since COVID, we're kind of used to chaos, right? I mean, what to show me a year that's just been peaceful and wonderful, you know? So
Yeah.
I think it's sort of white noise and people are just not paying a lot of attention. Those of us who our incomes depend on it, we are a little more in tune with that kind of a thing. But pending sales is down in this area. So, and that is for us. So, why do you think pending sales is down? January and February. Why?
Weather?
Weather. That's
Yeah.
why. Because when we have warm winters, we don't get as effective. But when it's sleeting and you 13 inches of snow, you're going to have it affect you.
How about 3 feet, Jody?
Yes. So, but we could look at it and say, "Oh, it's the war." But I don't think it's the war. I would bet you if I didn't put the news on once in a while, my husband would not know there was a war. Not everyone's tuned in. A lot of people tuned
Mhm.
out. And because it's so confusing, what's happening. I don't even have an opinion anymore. I don't know about you guys, but I just decided I'm going to focus on what I need to do because I can't control any of this. Those of you that are young enough to run for office, please go get involved. I have tried.
Well, I would say, Jody, that the war might not probably be a big impact, but also the economy, we lost some jobs in the first quarter of this year. So if people are not having a stable jobs, they're not going to be purchasing home as well. And people will be very scared to sell their home as well. So I don't know. I also like you. I want to focus on me and forget about what is happening because it's too much.
Exactly. And you know something? The truth is, I don't know if we've lost jobs in Connecticut and Rhode Island. I think because a lot of government things got laid off and it affected Ivy League schools. But I don't know, it's just starting to affect Yale. It hasn't affected Yale yet. They're just starting to go there. I think where you are, they went there. So what, out west where, there's a lot more government employees, it affects them. Probably affects people that work at Bradley International Airport, you know, but even that is subjective because I don't think the average person is feeling it in this area because I'm not hearing about it. So,
It makes sense. Different states, different industry that they're strong with, and it
right,
will
right,
be different for everyone. Yeah, for
right,
sure.
right. And in Connecticut, we're not as affected because we're sort of our state, our big employers left 10 years ago. We're kind of stuck with what we have and we're doing okay. So, and I think Rhode Island is sort of like part of Connecticut in my mind. You probably don't want to hear that, but I think of that. So, yeah, whatever. But so today's session, I think, and this is another thing I listened to a podcast last night. It was really good. And he was saying that if you have a positive outlook on life, if you're a positive person, you know the guy that does dirty jobs? He used to do dirty jobs. I forget his name. And he has a podcast. It's so good. But one of the things was if you have a positive attitude, you will live longer, no matter how bad your diet is. And all the other things that we're trying to do. And if Pfizer could bottle and sell a positive attitude, they would do it, and they would make sure that we all had to pay them for it. So that's an interesting thing. A good outlook, a grateful outlook, positive attitude. And that really does help. every day. So that's something that, I always try to work with too, and no one's perfect on that end. So today's session is just everything to do with buyers and how to get conversations to become appointments and how to get appointments to become signing up, writing an offer and getting it, negotiating it and getting it sold. So right now, if you have a listing, you have a paycheck in Connecticut. In Rhode Island, Mike Rowe, that's it, Rav, Mike Rowe. If you look him up, he's got really good podcasts. So if you want to get a paycheck, the fastest way to a paycheck right now is a listing. If you have a listing in Connecticut, it's going to sell. In Rhode Island, it's going to sell. In Florida, it's about buyers, and it's about qualified buyers who are ready to buy. And you know what? In our area, it's about qualified buyers who are ready to buy as well, so that you can have the right conversation and put them in the driver's seat with all the knowledge that they need to make good decisions. And that's all they need. So our job with buyers, we have to get them to sign a buyer representation agreement, or we cannot show houses. Now, there's a caveat to that. You can show in Connecticut, you can show our own listings. Any AllPoints Realty listings, you can show them and they will be unrepresented. But why would you do that? You want to work with people that want to work with you. So that's what I want to talk about today. How can we get buyers to let us have conversations for their ability to move forward and come up with a good contract to purchase a house? So the first thing we have to do is think about it. We do have pending sales are down. So pending sales are down a lot. In West Hartford, they are down 22.3%. And in Hartford County, they're down 11.6%. So if you do InfoStats, you want to find out pending sales, are they up or down? Because that is sort of a good barometer. Now, I'm betting it has to do with the weather, but we have to ask ourselves, if somebody wants to move, nothing holds them back. So what is holding them back? And it's not just people that come to open houses. I am talking to you guys. I know what you're all doing. You're showing houses. You're doing open houses, but things are not coming together. And then we hear a master class by a top agent talking about all their contracts that they get accepted. So you kind of feel like there's a disconnect. So let's think about that. So this is our goal, to get them to sign a buyer agreement. Okay? What is holding them back? And bring that into our conversations. So I asked ChatGPT, and let me tell you, I've been teaching this from before ChatGPT. So I know this subject so well, like the back of my hand, and I've taken many classes. I've read every book. This is something that as a salesperson, we ask ourselves, what is holding people back from making a good decision? And if there's a magic pill, I want one. If there's a magic wand, I want that. So the best we can do is look at what's out there and change the conversation. And if the buyer doesn't change with the conversation, we move on to another buyer. Okay? So we have to have more conversations, that means. So right now, however many conversations we're having with potential clients, if they are not the right clients, we need to kind of put them on the back burner and find more clients. There's no other way. So I asked ChatGPT. I've noticed many real estate, and you know what? I have to admit that I am married to a newer real estate agent who was a home inspector. Now imagine he was in construction, became a home inspector, then decided he wanted to get into real estate, a home inspector. Imagine how a salesperson is if they were a home inspector. Very analytical. He is one of the most analytical people I've ever met. In fact, my daughter's best friend said when my husband decided he wanted to get his real estate license, she said, "Does your dad know he has to talk to people?" So he just, you know. So when I write this stuff, I'm thinking most of the time of him, to be honest, because he's like the best subject because he needs help. So I've noticed many real estate agents not engaging enough with people who come to check out their open house, to get them to make an appointment, see more houses, find out where the customer lives, and what it would take for them to be able to move. Are they in a lease? Do they have a home to sell? What are the next steps they should take? Share with me the most compelling, attractive questions that would help an agent discover the need of the customer and gain the customer's trust enough to make an appointment. So it's not just about knowledge and it's not just about statistics. I love statistics. But honestly, when I go to open house and people come in, by the time they leave, I know everything about them. I just start talking to them like I've known them for years. I have four brothers, so I'm used to this. This is not um, hard for me to have conversations, and I care about people too. So I kind of feel like I know everybody. I don't know. That's weird, whatever, but it works for sales because people relate.
I have a question about that, Jody.
Okay.
You know that I've been doing open houses. Like last year, I count them and I did like 20. So, I was thinking based on my last open house that I need to be more intentional about the type of house I say yes to and the neighborhood because sometimes I feel that maybe I'm wrong about this, but sometimes when people come through the door, I feel that they might relate a little bit more to one agent versus the other. So let's say you and I run a 55 plus community house. People are more likely to connect with you, the people that come through the door, versus me. Maybe I'm wrong about that, but that's what I think based on my experience so far. So I do have very good conversations at my open house, but a lot of people be like, "Oh, I already have my realtor." Like like at one point, one group, like there were two couples. One were getting out, another one were getting in, and they were friends. And were like, "Oh my God, many years I don't see you." And they were like, "So I have this realtor. He's very good." So they are people that are not first time home buyers. They have already their probably $1 million house based on the last open house I did. And I don't know, like I feel maybe that's not my target audience. I feel that as a salesperson, we need to probably be more specific about who our clients might be, to be more intentional. And maybe I'm wrong about that, but that's my perception so far, that I
Yeah,
need to be
I completely disagree with you, Jennifer. And I'll tell you
really.
why. Oh, 100%. I'll tell you
Ah,
why. I will tell you why. Everyone wants to work with you. You
okay.
have to have that. You have to wear that. Everyone wants to work with you. Don't
Okay.
think everyone wants to work with you. If you don't feel that way, that's just a mindset. You have to
Yes.
change your mindset. You have to tell yourself before people come in the door, everyone wants to work with me. It's like having the positive attitude we talked in the beginning.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I think I see what you mean because so far I did have two good conversations with people in 55 plus community. But I was trying to say is that maybe if I move to like a younger, like people that are around my age, I can be potentially more successful. But I get what you're saying, like be positive and everyone wants to work with
Well,
you.
people your age probably don't have the down payment as much as the
I
where you
know
are.
that's the issue. I know. Well,
So, how much money do you want to make? That's the question.
I know. I
And you
know.
know what? This is the difference. So when I got my license, I was 23, and I became the top agent by doing open houses and farming. Uh,
Hmm.
and it wasn't because I wanted to talk to everybody and follow up and follow up and follow up. It's the follow up is where your business comes from, not the first conversation. You
Correct.
know, the first conversation helps, but you got to keep calling people.
Hmm.
I like Jody's perspective, very optimistic, and you don't limit yourself for nothing.
Yeah, yeah,
Mhm.
you own it. You deserve it. And, you know, everybody here in this area, they're from somewhere else. Everyone is from somewhere else. So don't think it's nothing to do with that. In fact, sometimes I wish I was from somewhere else and I wish I had an accent because I used to use business because I didn't. So you just have to believe every person wants to work with you. And if they can afford to do this, you just be brave and take one step at a time. Take one step at a time and don't take no for an answer. Just keep moving forward. You know what? I'll tell you, one of my favorite agents, he's no longer selling in this area, but he was from Haiti and he had the most beautiful smile in the world. And he could get anyone to do anything, anyone. And he was very successful. So it's just, it was his positivity. You know, even if people were grumpy, he'd be like, hey, and he would just start talking to them like he's known them forever. So that's what I mean. It's like you have to bridge the gap between polite conversations and, oh, you don't know me. Yes, you know everybody and you can work with everybody and you are the best agent they could pick. So one of the things that you want to look at, according to this, according to ChatGPT. So Jennifer, read the first paragraph on the left-hand side.
Out loud.
Yeah, read it out
Okay.
loud.
At open houses, the goal is not just conversation, it is discovering and trust. The best agents ask questions that feel curious, helpful, and consultative, not intro. So,
Interrogative.
yeah, interrogative. Sorry, I barely can see. The
I'm
right question.
sorry.
No, there we go. I put it bigger now. The right questions help you uncover motivation, timeline, current living situation, financial readiness, which is very key. Whenever they have a home to sell, whenever they are ready, they already have an agent. And the next logical step, the next compelling natural questions the top performing agents use to convert open houses visitors into appointments. Okay.
So here are the conversation things. Warm, not threatening, opening, oops, questions. Um, what caught your attention about this home? So when people come in, you know, oh, thank you for coming. Come this way. Would you mind signing in? Okay, so that's number one. Well, we didn't really want to sign in. We're working with an agent. That's okay. Just write your agent's name down. But the client, the seller, doesn't want anybody to go through that's not, doesn't sign in. Okay, and then what? And then no matter if they are working with an agent or not, ask these questions. What caught your attention about this home? Are you starting to look or have you been exploring homes for a while? What kind of homes have you been seeing so far? If you found the right home today, how would you want to move forward? Or how soon would you want to move? Okay, so just curious. And there's a ton more you could do, but these are just examples. Then discover their living situation. So number two, so there's 10 things. Number one, open curious question. Number two, discover their living situation. So in the back of your mind, just think of this. Where do you live now? Do you like living where you are? Were you hoping for something different? Are you renting now or do you own? If you own, would you need to sell your home before moving? Okay. And that's just like to the point, nice things to ask. So that discovers their living situation. Number three, understand their motivation. So what made you start thinking about moving? Isn't that a great question? What made you start thinking about moving? That like is the best question. I would, definitely ask that question, maybe even ask you can go in any order you want. You could ask that first. Okay, but in your mind, create the thing where you are discovering um, their motivation for selling, their living situation, and their, wait, what was the first one? The first one was warm, non-threatening open questions. Second one, discover their living situation. Third, understand their motivation. And this I say all the time. If you could wave a magic wand, what would your next home give you that your current home doesn't? I love that if you had a magic wand, how do you see things moving forward?
Jody, can you go back to the previous slide for one
Yeah,
minute? Okay. I really like the number one question. I think it's very good and it can create very good conversation. The other ones I kind of do already, but the
good.
first one, not really. So thank you.
I agree. I agree. That is the first one is a good one.
So Jody, I was in
Yes.
hi. I was in Connecticut yesterday. We went to an RV show at Mohegan Sun. And this is not too off topic because being from a sales field, there's 100 salespeople out on the floor, and I'm picking up on what they're trying to do to me, right? So now we're talking about open lines that are kind of, they're not too interrogative. And one of the main ones that they did was to find out about me was, what do you currently have now? Which is very similar to where are you living now? Where,
Right.
what are you looking for? So it's very, very similar.
I love that because, one of my coaches that I had said, always go to their house for the listing presentation. Always go to their house before you go out and show them properties. And the reason is because then they have to be honest with who they are.
Mm.
So it's up to you how you want to do it, but that is something to keep in mind. That is really cool. So, discover their living situation, understand their motivation, what made you start thinking about moving. I love that. What was the inception of that? Um, okay, and then they they uncover their pain points, emotional drivers. Next, timeline questions. Timeline tells you how serious they are. So the next question, number 12, when would you ideally like to be settled in your next home? 13, is this something you're hoping for this year, or are you planning further out? To see what their sense of urgency is. Number 5, the financial readiness question. So this is, um, these should be helpful, not intrusive. So number 14, have you had a chance to talk with a lender to see what options are available? And number 15, would it be helpful if I connected you with someone who can show you what payments might look like? So either that or have the payments ready. Think like pick 3 houses in the MLS, call a mortgage person, say with good credit, what would the payments be? With average credit, what would the payments be? With bad credit, what would the payments be? Find out what are the payments, and then you can tell them. Well, if you have good credit, it'll be this. If you have medium credit, it'll be that. Well, what's that? Well, you need to talk to a mortgage person for that. Because everything goes together with finance. How long have you had the job? What kind of job do you have? A lot of doctors, for example, have terrible credit. A lot of self-employed people, and why is that? Because they put themselves through school and they're so busy, they just don't have time to do things like pay their bills. So, but for a doctor, it doesn't matter because they're a doctor. So they will still get good rates and they will still get a great mortgage. But a school teacher, that's a different story. Okay, so they look at what you do for a living. They look at how long you've been there. Did you go to college? Do you have degrees? And that kind of thing, um, for what you're gonna monthly payment will be. So number 6, the trust building question. Are you working with an agent yet, or are you still exploring? So it's okay to ask that. Um, but I wouldn't ask that first. So here we are on the 16th question before we get to that. A lot of agents, that's the first question. But my experience is, number one, they wouldn't make an appointment with you if they had an agent. And number two, they're going to tell you when you ask them to sign in at the open house if they have an agent. So this is something you don't want to start out with. You don't want to interrogate people. And the two things you don't want to say first are you pre-approved and do you have an agent? Those are like the last things you want to say. So now we go on to number 7, the appointment creating question. So this is where I think, you have to really make an appointment before you can tell how serious someone is. And I know even with internet leads, internet leads have a very low conversion rate. If you're really good, it's 5%. Okay. But you don't know it until you act like they're ready to move. So here is the appointment creating question. These other questions transition the conversation into action. Would it be helpful if I set you if I sent you a few houses that match what you're describing? So, for example, if it was an open house, well, what have you seen so far that you don't like? I'm getting a feel for what you're looking for. Let me do some research. Would it be helpful if I sent you a few homes that match what you're describing? 18. There are actually a few homes similar to this one. Would you like me to set them up? Why don't we just go see them? And whenever you do an open house, you got to know what the competition is, and you have to look at what other homes are similar to that one. So you can be ready to do this. Number 19, would it make sense for us to get together for 20 minutes so I can show you everything coming on the market? Now, I would want to get together so I can show them my value. That is the whole point. We have to get them to sign a buyer agreement before we can show them anything. So we have to make an appointment to talk about what the next steps are. Number 20, if I could show you 3 homes that fit exactly what you're looking for, would you want to see them this week? So, I have had other agents in this session. They'll say, oh, I only have their phone number. I don't have their email address. So in that situation, what I recommend is take a picture of the house in the MLS with the price and some comments and text it to them and just say, and why? I don't want, you could send them a link to listings so they can look at, but start with just a picture because that pictures are emotional. They make people want to move. If a really good picture comes from one of the places where I buy something on my phone, I am looking at that, right away. And that's what happens with houses. They look at it right away and they'll say, yeah, let's go. I've had that happen more than once. So if you are having a trouble connecting with people after you have the initial meeting and they're not opening your email, they're not connecting with you, they're not responding, then take a picture of a house you think would be really good for them and text it to them. Just try it. You're going to find they will respond. So that was number 18. Oh, no, that was number 19. So number 20. Oh, we already did. So that's the thing. These are appointment setting questions. And this is like a page you should print out and put in front of you. Okay. Another powerful seller discovery question. Since many of the people that you're meeting, they have to sell before they can buy. Okay. Out of curiosity, if someone offered you the right price for your home, would you consider moving? And this is, a fantastic question. I would put this as another one I would print out and put it in front of you. Just out of curiosity. My style of selling is why don't we get together and we can look at the possibilities? Doesn't that sound inviting? It's not like why don't we get together and we can talk about what's happening with the market right now, what your payments might be, and I can give you some good information. And we'll just look at the possibilities. You might decide, nope, I don't want to move forward. But right now, what you don't know is what you don't know, and you might not even know the questions to ask. So I love that one. Out of curiosity, if someone offered the right price for your home, would you consider moving? And then follow up. What do you think your home might sell for in today's market? And this opens the door to the listing conversation. The best open house conversations questions top agents often end with, what would be the next step and what would be most helpful for you? Oh, what would be the next step? That would be most helpful for you. Isn't that a great question? So what are you seeing with all these questions? Anybody want to tell me what you see?
We're getting yeses from them.
Yeah, there's no, it's not a yes or no. They can't say no. No, I don't want to. You know what I mean? You're getting yeses, but it's also making them think about moving forward. So exactly. So these are the questions you want to ask. Good salespeople never ask a question they don't know the answer to. You're asking questions with a purpose. Okay, so here is an example of a conversation with a flow. They come into the open house. What caught your attention about this home? Where are you living now? What made you start thinking about moving? When would you ideally like to move? Would it be helpful if I showed you a few homes like this? Would you like to see a couple this week? Isn't that great? So that's the flow. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. Curiosity builds trust faster than expertise. And that's what I wanted to share. That line, I think, is so true. Curiosity builds trust faster than expertise. So looking into the eye, asking them questions, listening to their answers, them talking is what builds trust. Not, oh, there's, only 20 houses on the market in the whole town. Last year there were this many. Those kind of statistical conversations are good to help solidify something they're thinking about moving forward with. But you don't want to start out with them. So be curious about where they're going. Ask good questions. Listen 70% of the time. Make visitors feel understood. Offer helpful next steps. It's funny. No, even if they're really negative, I will be happy. Oh, yeah, everybody thinks that way. You're not alone. I hear that all the time. Well, we don't want to move right now. We don't want to work with an agent. We don't, whatever they say, no matter what it is. Oh, believe me, you're not the only one to say that to me. I hear that all the time. Okay, so I want to now go into zip forms because I want to make sure you're comfortable with the technology. So a lot of times people don't move forward with appointments because they don't know what to do. So I'm actually going to go into zip forms for a minute and open the account. All right. Here we are, zip forms. So to get into your account, most of the time it's first name dot last name, and the account URL is zipformsplus.com. So if you don't know, not everyone, it's first name dot last name, but almost everyone is that, like mine is here. And then you set up your own password. If you can't get in, I can reset your password. Just let me know and I'll reset it. If you want to try right now and do this with me, you're welcome to. Okay.
We don't have
So
access yet, Jody.
you don't have access?
No,
Let me
not
see.
not Rhode Island. Rhode Island doesn't have access yet.
Oh,
We
you're
haven't rolled out.
kidding.
Yeah.
Oh, well, that's not good. So tell me, Rob, how do you write your contracts?
So we use Transaction Desk for the forms, or we'll use dot loop. So
Okay.
those are the two.
All right. Well, we're going to actually go into a contract, so we'll talk about it. It's going to be very similar, and you will have access soon. This is a lot like Dotloop. I used to use Dotloop all the time too.
Yeah.
So I'm going to use this anyway.
Okay.
So first we start up here, we click new. So did you guys see that? I'm going to show you again. When you log in, you're going to be in the transaction area. And when we want to do it, so it says here transactions. We're in the transactions. We're in this area here. When we want to do a new listing or a new sale or a new rental or a new represent the landlord, we always start at new. In new, we have the choice of listing, purchase, lease listing, or just getting something signed if we're uploading something. So we always pick new purchase offer. Once we're there, we don't know what they're going to buy yet. We just know it's a client. So the client is Betty Buyer. Okay. And she lives at 42 Greenhurst Road, West Hartford. Okay. Oh, that's not, I'm sorry. I didn't want to do that. We don't know what she's buying yet, so I'm not doing that. And where she lives comes next. But what she's buying is either residential, multifamily, condo, or land most of the time. So I am going to pick residential. And then we click save. All right. And then we add them, and Loop does this too. We're going to add the parties here. So I click on parties. So once we're in there, we click on parties. We go to buyer one, Betty Buyer, and where she lives. So that's all I have to fill out, except I do have to fill out Betty's email for digital signatures. Okay, and that's it. So we don't need the zip code. In most states, for something, a contract to be legal, because of the statute of frauds law, you have to have the address where they live in the contract, and this autofills all that. Once we're done, we hit save. Now we only have one buyer, but if we had more, we could add them. Then we click on documents. And in our documents, we have a list of what is required. And this is true of every state. So every state has required documents. We have a prospective parties form. This is from the National Association of Realtors. This is a Connecticut Association of Realtor form. It's nothing to sign, but we have to give it to them. Agency disclosure is a form that shows we've had the conversation about agency. Exclusive right to represent the buyer is that. And then affiliated business agreement, all states have this because we have our own mortgage company. And we also have a home warranty program through Century 21 that the company gets a little money from. And that is why that is there. So that's it. The only thing else you need is the lead, I'm not sure if it's on here, but you also have to have the lead booklet. So those are the things we need. So we go into working docs. And the way these are set up, it's the first four that we just saw. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then we're going to add so I selected them by selecting the top left-hand corner. And now I'm going to open in Forms Editor. And this is for the buyer agreement. So I can show them houses. So across the country now, this is a requirement. So this first form, it tells you who wrote the form. So it's the Connecticut Association of Realtors, and it just talks about the different types of agency. This does not autofill, okay? So it goes to Betty Buyer. There she is. And it is by Jody Tusting. And that's the licensee's name, and Century 21. AllPoints Realty is the brokerage. Then we go to the next one. And we just say, okay, we're going to represent the buyer exclusively. And their information fills in. And this just explains what different kinds of agency means. And then we go into the contract, we're going to represent them. And we just, in our state, and there's a lot of different contracts, but they're all pretty much the same idea. So we have the buyers, we have the firm, and then we're going to purchase and look for property, what it is and where it is. So the property is residential, oops, real estate in, I'll say Hartford County, I'll say Hartford County, New Haven County, and Connecticut. So they want you to work in areas that you have expertise. So it's good to start out with a town and then you could add other things. They will end up initialing this. Then we say when this goes into effect. I would always put today's date. The actual date this is in effect is the date they sign it. And then for how long do you want to work with them? So these, let's say there's somebody I know or somebody came to the open house and they're kind of on again, off again. So I'm going to work with them, I think through October. Because I know they're not 100% ready to go. So they may, not put an offer in right away. But I know them well enough that they will sign this, okay? And then what
So
do you
what is like the average? Do you do 6 months normally?
normally in the seller's market, I do 3. In a buyer's market, honestly, I would do for you, I might even do a year because if they're here and they might not come back for a year if they leave.
Yeah. Okay.
So as much time as you can is what I would do for you
Okay.
because they're seasonal.
Right.
And then here is what we're going to charge. So I'm charging 3%. Some agents charge 3.5%. So I'm going to say 3% here. And we're going to have a conversation about this. So let's read this because they all are pretty much the same. For the purchase or exchange of real property, your professional service fee is 3% of the agreed upon purchase price or exchange or value. It applies only if filled in, so that would be nothing there. Your professional service fee applies to any real property which is purchased or exchanged, whether or not such real property is listed for sale or leased by owner or located by me. So even if it's not listed, they owe me the commission. Well, I'm working with them exclusively. Then it says you agree to request all or any part of your professional service fee from the seller or listing agency You may not receive compensation from any other source that exceeds the amount or rate agreed to herein. So be careful what yours says, because if some agents are afraid to ask for what they're worth. So that they might put 2% here, 2.5. This is saying you cannot get paid more if you put this in here. So I would always put at least 3% here. And this is telling them that they can ask for the commission to be paid by the seller or the listing brokerage. So you don't have to write it anywhere, it's here. And most of those are like this. So a good idea is to read your contracts. So i.e., we will pay all or any part of your professional service fee that is not paid by the seller or listing agency if when A, we enter into a contract for purchase or exchange real property during the term of this contract and all material conditions have been met and are subsequently met after the expiration of the term of the contract or material or B, we purchase the exchange real property covered by this contract during the term of this contract. Or C, we are introduced to a property during the term of this contract, obtain title to it within, I'm going to say 90 days after the expiration of this contract. So this is also a clause that's in most contracts. So what this means is I could show them, or Valeria, I'll make it in Florida. Let's say you showed them houses for 6 months and you showed 20 houses or more. And then they go into an open house and one of the houses that you showed them, it expired. It's no longer listed with anyone. And they're driving by the house. And while they're driving by, the seller sees them and waves, comes out and says, "Oh, are you interested in my house?" And you say, "Yeah, I actually," or the buyer says, "Yeah, I was looking at houses with Valeria from Century 21, and we were thinking about coming back." He goes, "Well, I could sell it to you directly. We don't have to go through Valeria. Let's save the money." Really? The same price? Yeah. No. We don't want that happening. And it happens, believe me. So that's why you want to have that here. Okay. They can't go buy the house if it expires or this contract expires within how many days. So that's why that's there. Okay. So, and then the other, so right now we're saying 3%. It can be paid by them or the other people, but they are responsible for it if no one agrees to pay. And when do you talk about this? So this is what I would tell them. Most of the time, the seller pays or the listing agency. But once in a while, you'll get somebody that's like, maybe it's a short sale, they just don't have the money. In that case, you would have to pay if you want to go forward. So it's something we would talk about when we write the offer, and then you can make a decision how you want to proceed. And usually that is 100% okay with them. So if you're nervous, they're nervous. It's like a dog. The dog can feel your fear. You have to role play this in your mind, because if you're nervous, they're nervous. You just have to write it in there and they will sign it. I'll give you an example. My husband did an open house at my cousin's house. The people that came through were very qualified. And but they were really young and they drove a beat up old car. But I knew right away that they were qualified just you can tell. I had goosebumps. I knew this is the buyer just by the way they walked in. So I said to them, my husband is new and he's analytical. So I took over and I said, "Listen, this is my cousin's house. I just want to, let you know. And he has given me permission to tell you that he's negotiable. So I want to let you know that because you're looking at the house with us today, we'd like to represent you for this contract. And I will just send you the paperwork. But we'd like to represent you. But in this case, we would be a dual agent, which means I will get paid by my cousin. But also, but my fiduciary duty will be to you. So the day before the closing, she called me. She'd been working with my husband the whole time. She called me and said, Jody, I have the 17,000 to write you a check. Um, so I'll bring it to the closing tomorrow. So she was going to pay the buyer's side to me directly because of the conversation I had in the beginning. Think about that. She was ready to pay it out of her own pocket, the buyer's side, even though the listing side had already agreed to pay both sides. So I didn't explain it quite right, but I never had her sign anything saying she was responsible because she wasn't. Isn't that cool? So the thing is, people listen to what we're saying and they're okay with it. We can't think that they can't afford it or that we're ripping them off or anything like that. You deserve to get paid for the work you do. So that's the whole thing. 3%, and that's not, don't go below that. That you deserve it. So what if the seller's only going to pay 2.5? Then the buyer will pay half of 1%. So how much is that? Well, if it's 400,000, half of 1% is 2,000. And that's part of their closing costs. So people do this every day. Most good agents do this and they get paid by both sides. So that's really the way you want to do it. So you can give yourself a good career and make it worth being in this business. All right, and then the rest of this is only applied if filled in, so we don't have to fill anything in. And then we just put in the broker's email address, which is your email address, and the buyer's email address, which I think was jodytesting@aol.com. Okay, and that is it. So the property's to be determined, TBD. We don't know what it is yet. And it's today's date. And we represent the purchaser. Okay, now the only thing not here is the lead book. So I'm going to look for it, LEAD, lead brochure. I'm adding this at the end. And I did that on purpose, so it ends up at the end. And then I just click save and prepare signing. Okay, once you prepare signing, you select Authenticign and you click create. So this is something that if you're not comfortable doing, call me and we'll do it together. Just call me and put an hour on my calendar and I'll teach you how to do this. If it's last minute and you're on the way to go somewhere and you have to get this done, I can't guarantee that I'm not teaching a class or on an appointment or something like that. The transaction managers can help you. There's always someone that can help you, but it's good to know it too. So now once I'm here, I'm in the Authenticign area. We add participants always from the transaction. We're adding the selling agent, which is Jody, and the buyer. And then we click select. And then we click map signers and assign signing blocks. So it's like 3 clicks. You don't have to actually do anything. Now we have the first page, that's all done. This is autofill, and this is what happens when your Rhode Island documents are uploaded. The autofills will go in there. And everything is done. Now, this is the only place that we have to add the client's signature. So to add the client's signature, we click on Tools over here. And then make sure you see your buyer. So you'll either be the buyer or you. and you click sign here and drag it. You drag and drop, just like playing solitaire. And then you have the little date field, and then this is just the lead brochure. So that is it. Then you click next and send. So that is how ZipForms works. Once you know you're there, like, how do I get back there? So let me show you how to get back there. So here we are in ZipForms. We logged in, and there's Betty Byers. So we click on Betty. Now, where is my signed document? So we were here when we started. We went to parties, right? Put that in, went to documents, put those in. Then there's checklist, notes, and e-sign. So when you click on e-sign, you'll see the envelope that you sent. And you can click on this little drop down and you can resend the invitation. Or you can click on the envelope and you can see, did I get their email right? I can change it if I need to. And then did they open it? If they open it, it's authenticated, but they have to sign it for it to be approved. Okay. And that is it. Any questions? Okay. So now we want to talk about the conversation. So the big, beautiful conversation that you have to get them to sign your zip forms. Okay. And that is, you have it in person. So how can I make myself valuable to them? Asking the good questions and then giving them some good information. So, and we've talked about this before. So what are some examples of good information?
The market update.
Market update. Other houses that are for sale. A list of what has sold and what's on the, with the last 6 months, all the houses that sold, list price and sale price, so they can see, so they feel comfortable making an offer, and having that conversation. Not being afraid to have that conversation. So I'm gonna show you a couple more things and then I'm going to end it. Let's see. Where'd it go? Okay, go next. Next. There we go. So next week, we're going to go into negotiating and writing an offer for a buyer. So you feel comfortable with that conversation and writing the contract. The other thing I would say is make a list of all the valuable things you can give them when you meet with them for that 20-minute conversation at their house. Let me go back one. Okay. So writing that contract that we just wrote, that's the hardest part of it. Having a good conversation, just getting them to sign the 3% is not hard, but you want to give them other things so they don't dwell on that, So here are the next steps. We're going to look at houses. Here, let me show you some other things that ZipForms has that I love. And we've talked about this before. I think last week we did it. So in ZipForms, in documents, we also have closing costs. Oops, closing. Oh, closing tips. So that's good too. And closing costs, where are those? checklists. The other thing about zip forms that's kind of cool, you can see the history and notes. I'm looking for the transaction manager's stuff. Documents, checks, depositors, TC folder, transaction manager. Okay. So this is where closing tips, commission statement. Oh, maybe it's not here. I thought it was here. All right, I'm going to add it. Let me try. So you can add forms to these, and we have AllPoints forms. So go AllPoints Realty. The home warranty is here. Commission. It's buyer estimated closing costs. All right, I just downloaded it. When you click on it, it downloads. So every state is a little different, and this will have what is applicable to you. Okay. And this is a very analytical form, but it's helpful. So you want to get to, know these kind of things. So if for Florida, John, let me ask you a question. Do you guys use attorneys or do you use title companies? You're muted. Rob, maybe you know the answer. Did Rob leave?
Yeah, no, it's closing attorneys. That's who we use.
Oh, good. Okay. So, like in Florida, they use title companies.
Mhm.
So, our attorneys, what is your attorney's fee usually?
It varies with each one, so it changes with each one. Depends on they could do it on a commission. Could be a straight fee. Depends on which one we use.
Okay. So I would say get some examples so you can let them know what the different options are.
Okay.
And I started 1,000, but there's a lot of attorneys that do it for less than 1,000. But I like them to be happily feel like they're getting a good deal. So they'll be like, okay. To me, I feel like you get what you pay for. I don't go with the cheapest ever when it comes to your biggest purchase ever,
Mhm.
you know?
Makes sense.
Okay, and then there are other things here. If it's condo, in the tank you pay for. Um, the condo association, you always pay for it before the month starts, that kind of thing. So those are things you'd want to share with them. You also want to share with them copies of the listings. So let me just show you something that I do. Okay. So for example,
Jerry, I'm sorry. Something that you already mentioned is about the oil.
yes.
So when you says the buyer has to pay for the oil,
What is
it's like what?
this? Oh my God, Daryl made me a pizza. No way.
Alex a baguette.
Oh my God, that looks beautiful.
Chicken and vegetable, grilled vegetable.
Oh, you're the best. Okay. Sorry. Danny, you have to come over here and share the pizza with me. And Desiree.
Please don't do that. So okay, like I was saying, so whatever left in the tank, whatever oil left in the tank, the buyer has to pay for it. Is that what it is?
Yes, yes, yes. The buyer has to pay for it because it's in the tank. So usually the day before the closing, they'll measure, they'll find out what the buyer paid, and then that's what the seller paid rather, and then that's what the buyer will be responsible for. Or they'll fill the tank up to the top and they'll have them pay for a full tank. So depending on if your buyer wants to save money for the closing. There are some things in the closing that buyers have to pay for. And this is a good thing to learn so it makes you feel comfortable. So let's say they close on the 15th. They would be prorated for the principal, interest, and taxes every day for the rest of the month. And when they're prorating, they use a 30-day month. So whatever that, so let's say it's $3,000. So that would be $1,000 a day. And if it was 15 days, that would be 1,500 that would be due. Half of that. Okay. And then oil, the water and sewer bill, also prorated, because water and sewer you pay after you've lived there. So the attorneys figure that one out. Your lender has costs also. You have your homeowner's insurance. Homeowner's insurance varies depending on is your house in a flood zone or not. And that can be a huge difference. So when people are looking at houses, always think about, is it in a flood zone? And you know what? A lot of people don't care because they want the ocean view. They want to be part of that community. So it's not necessarily a bad thing. Flood insurance is a good thing because that means if it floods, they're covered. And these are mortgage information. Sometimes so the people that say if something's in a flood zone or not, guess who they are? Those are the Army Corps of Engineers. And so it's not local. You can get a flood certification, but you have to pay for it because it changes over time. And that is about it. So, again, if you need help with anything regarding writing an offer, either reach out to your manager or put time on my schedule and reach out with me. And we will make it happen so that you feel comfortable. It's really important that you feel comfortable or you'll put it off. That's my experience. And that I'm talking from, I remember how I felt. So, when you're meeting with buyers, feel comfortable with the paperwork so that you're easily able to fill it out. I always fill it out ahead of time, fill it out before you meet with them. Don't wait till the last minute. You're going to be nervous. If you are meeting with somebody on Friday and it's Monday, fill it out Monday. Don't put it off. Next week, we're going to talk about managing the transaction, getting more deals, and writing an offer. And anything else you want to talk about. I mean, that's the whole thing that we're doing here. Coaching. If you're on my coaching list, this is the week that we have coaching. If you want to be on my list, let me know. But these are the things we're going to talk about. How many conversations, texts, mail, direct messages, open houses, appointments, showings, and then skill sets to practice, the listing presentation, how to do a CMA, pulling statistics, and using ChatGPT. It's important that you learn how to use artificial intelligence. It helps you. Have it tell you, give me a daily action list. This is my goal. I want to get this done. Tell me what I need to do every day. All right. And then these are all the recordings. So, and then at the bottom are the handouts. So all the handouts are here. I put them up as we do them. Okay. Any questions? Thank you.
Thank you, Jody.
Thanks for
Bye.
your time, Jody.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming. It was so good to see you. Take care.
All right.
Desiree, come have pizza.